And now I would request Bill Gates to deliver the keynote address.
Well, it's exciting to be here today, and I really appreciate the incredibly kind introduction from my good friend, the Honorable Chief Minister Naidu. I'm also glad that we have so many other important people here, the IT Minister, Agriculture Minister, Minister of Markets, Speaker of the House, many members of Parliament, a member of the Assembly, Principal Secretaries for Agriculture, many farmers, students, and friends. I really was excited when I first met the Chief Minister over 20 years ago now, because people were saying to me, there's someone who believes in digital technology and digital dashboards even more than you do. And I found that hard to believe, but when we met, he had his digital equipment computer, and he was really painting a vision of how we could make government better by using this very advanced tool. And he and I have completely agreed on that every step of the way. Today is a real milestone in that. Today we can talk about that we really are starting to use dashboards for agriculture and health, and things like Kayazala are connecting people together for great government activities. So it's been a real journey over these last 20 years, making that vision a reality. I expect we'll be accelerating. In the years ahead, we'll be able to move very, very quickly. Today, I want to focus particularly on some of the innovations going on in agriculture. Of course, as the Chief Minister said, the future of Andhra Pradesh is dependent on the future of its smallholder farmers. It's great to hear the plan to translate this commitment into action on everything from improving roads and connectivity to investing in micro-irrigation and digital soil mapping. Andhra Pradesh is taking bold steps to transform the agriculture sector and set a model for others. Two examples that I'm very impressed with. One is the Mega Seed Park, which really is a first of its kind, and it will make available lots of high-quality seed. And coupled with that is the new e-seed distribution application, D-Krishi, which will help farmers access quality seed in a timely manner and ensure that the government's resources are being wisely used. These are the kind of innovations that will help achieve the Chief Minister's goal of sustained double-digit economic growth in AP over the next decade. Everyone in this room shares the goal of a prosperous India, and so we must also share an interest in the process of agricultural transformation. When I say transformation, I mean a shift from agriculture based merely on subsistence to agriculture that runs like a business. It's efficient, profitable, and meets the needs of both producers and consumers. There's basic statistics that I'm sure that many of you are familiar with. More than half of India's population works in agriculture. In rural India, 3/4 of working women are making their living in agriculture. Just under half of India's population suffers from malnutrition, and over 300 million Indians live below the poverty line. Now, these might seem like different data points, but in fact, they're closely related. It's the hundreds of millions of smallholder farmers who are most likely to be malnourished and impoverished. And it's smallholder women farmers who are so often trapped in subsistence farming. It is this connection that explains why agriculture transformation is such a high-leveraged investment in the future, and why, along with health, it's a top priority for our foundation. If we can help smallholder farmers to be more productive and earn a good income, then, to adopt a phrase, we can kill three birds with one stone. First, we can turn the largest economic sector in the country into a source of growth instead of a drag on the economy. Second is we can make sure that growth is inclusive and that it not only leads to a higher GDP, but also lifts people out of poverty. Third, we can produce enough nutritious food to support a healthy and well-educated labor force for the future, when the Indian economy will depend even more on highly skilled workers. What I just described has been the recipe for economic transformation across Asia, in China, in South Korea, in Japan. And it will also be a key element of the recipe for India's economic transformation. To catalyze this chain reaction, we have to focus on two things: increasing the productivity of smallholder farmers and connecting them to markets so that they can prosper from their work. In the case of crops, I think about increasing productivity in two ways. The first is better varieties of seeds to improve yields, nutrition, and tolerance to stresses, such as flooding, drought, and other effects of climate change. For example, scientists at IRRI, the International Rice Research Institute, developed a flood-tolerant version of the popular rice variety known as Swarna that can survive full submergence for more than 2 weeks. Swarna Sub 1 is now being used by millions of smallholder farmers, especially in Eastern Asia. But many smallholder farmers still use seed varieties that are decades old, so they're not realizing the benefits of newer, high-yielding, and more resilient seeds. In fact, the Rice Monitoring Project in Eastern India analyzed samples from thousands of farms and showed that farmers were swapping out rice varieties at an even slower rate than we had thought. Modern plant breeding techniques, including DNA analysis, can double or even triple the annual increase in crop yields and lead to hardier varieties. IRRI and the Bangladesh Rice Research Institute have already proven the effectiveness of some of these approaches in their work modernizing rice breeding programs. AP is already a major seed producer for India and South Asia, and it is well positioned to become a hub for seed innovation. AP doesn't have to look far to find the know-how to capitalize on this opportunity. It can leverage the local expertise in GIS and its world-class IT sector, along with low-cost commercial software and DNA testing services to develop better varieties more quickly. The Mega Seed Park will drive innovation not only for higher-yielding crops, but also varieties of regional importance, including more nutritious and resilient non-cereal crops like pulses. Even with these advances, the local seed companies that market new varieties to smallholder farmers need to be confident that farmers will buy their seeds before they take on the expensive and risky process of introducing new varieties. This brings me to the second way I think about increasing productivity: understanding what varieties farmers are actually growing in their field. In the U.S. Corn Belt, seed companies test new varieties on thousands of farms before they make the final choice on which ones to bring to market. For public breeding programs in AP and other parts of South Asia, this step is often missing, so most companies only sell tried and true older varieties. Imagine what would happen if every farmer in AP was growing the latest varieties bred for today's environment and production system. A data feedback loop can help bridge the gap between innovation happening in the public breeding programs and the products farmers need to boost productivity. Since nearly half of households in AP rear livestock, we also have to think about productivity from that perspective. One priority is animal health. Diseases can wipe out flocks and herds, driving smallholders even further into poverty. For example, Newcastle disease can kill 3/4 of the chickens in a flock during an outbreak. Through a partnership with Hester Biosciences, there's now a vaccine that costs just 3 cents a dose. India is also pioneering vaccines and medicines for other costly livestock diseases, including some that spread to humans, such as porcine cysticercosis. This disease is endemic to India's swine herds and is the most frequent preventable cause of epilepsy in developing countries. It kills 50,000 people a year. Another priority is animal breeding. Consider the dairy sector. India is the world's largest milk producer, but this success is owed to a very large number of animals producing fairly small amounts of milk. In AP, many of the indigenous cattle breeds owned by smallholder farmers produce only a fraction of the milk that's possible. But crossbred cows could yield more than twice as much milk as the typical indigenous breed. We are supporting the National Dairy Plan to increase milk production across India by 6 million tons annually. One promising element of the plan is a partnership to introduce sex-sorted semen technology. With India increasing artificial insemination to 100 million doses annually, this means that not only are we breeding cows that produce more milk, but we're also increasing the portion of female calves being born. Of course, boosting productivity isn't just something that plant breeders or veterinarians do in a lab. The innovations need to get from the lab to farmers' fields. For that, digital financial services can help, because smallholder farmers need to save and borrow money to buy seeds, fertilizer, and veterinary care. In the old cash economy, saving was insecure and borrowing was extremely expensive for most people. India is becoming the leader in digital financial inclusion. The combination of a world-class biometric ID system, investments in public infrastructure like the MPCI Unified Payment Interface, and the recent launch of payment banks produce changes and opportunities that were unthinkable just a few years ago. Now we have to be sure that this platform helps solve the challenges smallholder farmers face. For example, the current Fertilizer Subsidy program is expensive, and it promotes fertilizers that aren't always the right one for the farmer's soil, so farmers don't see as much gain in productivity. It's great to see AP taking the first step to fix these problems by delivering the fertilizer subsidy through digital transfer. Once farmers are biometrically verified through Aadhaar, they receive recommendations for the right amount of fertilizer for their crop, depending on the quality of their soil and the size of their land. This helps farmers balance nutrients to revitalize their soil, and it increases crop productivity. It also reduces widespread overuse of fertilizer. Direct transfer of fertilizer subsidies can be quite transformative in other ways. It will help governments minimize leakages, and it will bring farmers into the formal economy. Once farmers are linked to India's digital financial system, they'll be able to receive social welfare payments directly and save their harvest proceeds in secure, interest-bearing accounts, making it easier to buy seeds and fertilizer in the planting season. And they'll be able to send and receive money simply and safely with the click of a button. It's also important for farmers to have reliable information so they can make the most strategic choices about managing their farms. For many farmers, this starts with understanding the ground beneath their feet, what crops will grow best in it, what fertilizer is required to make it more productive. AP's Soil Health Card has helped farmers, but it takes a long time to do the lab work needed to produce the cards, so they haven't reached all farmers to make the difference everybody's hoping for. As the Chief Minister knows, innovation in soil mapping can overcome this constraint. One model is what our foundation did in Africa called the Soil Information Service, which combines satellite images with data collected from mobile phones to develop a continent-wide digital soil map. This helped reduce the cost of soil analysis in Africa from $100 per sample to less than $2. And the potential applications are far-reaching. Some fertilizer companies are using this data to develop new fertilizer blends. Based on this new data about soil and other information, it's possible to give farmers better advice about what to grow, when to harvest, and where to sell for the best price. The M-Sedyom app provides this kind of information to farmers in their local language. And the innovative NGO Digital Green is piloting a new tool in AP that uses remote sensing imagery and crop modeling to measure rice yields. This gives the organization real-time data about which parts of the extension services are working and which need to be improved. If you add it all together, we get farmers with better access to seeds, improved livestock breeds, better financial services to invest in these innovations, and information about how to make the best use of these investments. The next step is making sure that farmers who use these tools to grow a bumper crop or create a big dairy surplus can find customers to buy their produce at the best price. Currently, that's a challenge. Smallholder farmers face many barriers, including a lack of reliable information about prices, economies of scale, and credit and financing. Obviously, a single smallholder farmer doesn't grow enough food to meet the supply requirements of a commercial buyer. There are lots of intermediaries who buy small products from groups of smallholder farmers. Farmer producer organizations are starting to aggregate produce from small farms more efficiently and in a way that is ultimately controlled by and transparent to the farmers. There are more than 1,000 of these organizations operating in India, and some of which are a model of success. For example, with our support, the World Bank program Jivika brought 400 women maize farmers in Bihar together into producer organizations. They sold 3/4 of their produce through the groups, while the rest was sold in the traditional way. The pooling helped them get better prices and learn more about quality requirements of commercial buyers. In the end, they saw over 10% increase in their earnings, and that money was deposited electronically into each woman's account. This is the kind of thing we need to do for women farmers everywhere, not only because ensuring gender equity in agriculture is the right thing to do, but also because it's smart. Research shows that when women have the same access as men to agricultural resources, production on the land they farm increases 20 to 30%. Over the last century, India has made extraordinary progress in agricultural production, but it faces big challenges: a growing population, extensive malnutrition, and the real threat of climate change. It's estimated for each 1 degree centigrade rise in temperature, India's rice yields could drop as much as 10%. Wheat could fare even worse. That would be devastating for millions of smallholder farmers, as well as for India's economy. Addressing these challenges and achieving the government's vision of doubling farmer income will require advances in science and technology to boost productivity. It won't come as a big surprise that I'm a big believer in technology. Here in Andhra Pradesh, you have a government that is committed to using technology in smart ways. Take the agricultural digital dashboards I mentioned at the beginning. By integrating a variety of data, they provide an accurate picture of the overall sector and can help policymakers identify areas for improvement. But that is just one part of Chief Minister Naidu's vision for agricultural transformation. He understands that governments must also invest in infrastructure and better access to markets, and agricultural programs that ensure equity for women. This is a pivotal moment in India's history and in the future of Andhra Pradesh. By making smart investments in the right things and by leveraging India's talent and ingenuity, I believe it's possible to increase farmers' productivity and incomes at a scale and speed that rivals or exceeds Asia's other agricultural transformations. No one is saying it will be easy, but with strong political leadership and the right tools, we can empower AP's 14 million smallholder farmers to harvest their own agricultural transformation. This transformation can serve not only to improve lives and livelihoods here, but also as a model for the rest of India and the world. As the Chief Minister said, there's many opportunities for us to work together. Today we're talking concretely about some great opportunities in agriculture. I'm also very committed to make sure we're working together in health and sanitation. So that early discussion 20 years ago is now leading to some amazing results, and I'm very excited about what we'll be able to do together. Thank you.